Okay. Hey.
Hey.
So I had this moment yesterday, and it made me think about dating and seeing the signs of dating or not seeing the signs, which was always my case. And so I just wanted to
Ditto.
talk to you about it, see what you thought. But yeah, so yesterday, and this is really stupid, this is really silly, and it has nothing to do with dating technically, just forewarning. But yesterday I had to go to a business to pick something up, and I had an appointment like right after. So I went to this business. I was like determined and focused on their door. And I was like, okay, I'm going in, going out, got to get to this next appointment. I get out of my car. I go straight to the door. I'm like trying to open it and it's locked. And I was so livid. I mean, I literally stood there for about a minute or two. And I was like, on the door, it says that their hours of operation is right now. Why is it locked? I get back in my car. I look at the door again, and I see multiple signs on the door and around it that says, door is locked, call this number. And felt like an idiot. So yeah, but it made me think about like all of the times. I mean, I've shared it before. I've been engaged multiple times. Plus, I've dated multiple people throughout that. And I was so focused and so determined to make those relationships work that I never saw the signs that were like, Gabby, this door is closed. Like, don't go through this door. I never saw it because I was so determined and so focused on that person, or just, I don't know, making it work against all odds. And
Yeah.
so I want to hear like what you think. Like, has that been your experience, or how do you think that you see the signs?
Oh, has it? Yes. Yes. I think we'd be lying if, we said that we haven't been in that place. Almost anybody. Yeah, I mean, I was in an abusive relationship. There was a lot of signs that I didn't see over and over and over again. And just in general, unhealthy relationships prior to that. Um, I don't like, for me, I don't know. It kind of reminds me of that quote from Perks of Being a Wallflower, where it's like we accept the love that we think we deserve.
Mm,
So a lot of times, in my opinion, it's 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 like choosing to ignore the signs because we don't know if we deserve better.
yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, obviously that's, a self-worth kind of thing. There's some work that needs to be done there. But like what you said, making it work against all odds. I remember when I was in that abusive relationship, I, for some reason, I wanted the story. Like it would have been a really good story.
Yeah. Books would
Um,
have been written
yes,
about
Nicholas
it.
Sparks would have created a movie out of the trauma that came from that relationship. But um, yeah, so I think it's either like you get caught up in when it's good, it's really good, but when it's bad, it's really bad. Like that's not how my marriage is at all.
Yeah.
It's pretty chill and like always generally good. And I'm not saying like we don't have, I don't know, disagreements or whatever, but it's not ever really bad,
Yeah.
which I think was a hallmark to not seeing the signs or seeing them and choosing to ignore them, because it would either be a good story um or it was a self-worth issue for me personally.
Yeah.
um but what do you think on that? What is your experience with that?
I've had a lot of experience with either, most of the time, I mean, if we're actually honest with ourselves, we see the signs.
Yes.
But to me, I would see signs and I was like, you mean like my family or my friends didn't like the person I was dating? And I was in an abusive relationship too at one point, just really like verbally abusive, only physical a couple of times. um, I say only, that's not
I
good.
know. Only is plenty. I
Yeah,
mean,
one is
that
enough.
only should be
Like one's
replaced.
enough to
Yeah,
be fair.
exactly.
But like if my family or friends didn't like the person, I knew that was a sign, but I was just like, that's not a sign. That's their stupidity. Like,
Yeah.
because they don't know this person the way I know them. They don't see how good their heart is those 5 minutes when we're alone. Like
Mm-hmm.
those 5 minutes out of a 24-hour period, they don't see that. And like,
Retweet.
yeah. Yeah. So, but like, it was always clear when I stepped back, like when I got in my car yesterday with that sign, like when I stepped back and I looked, I mean, I had been in that perspective before, but I was just so dead set on getting through the door that I didn't notice everything around the door.
Mm-hmm.
And so after trying and not succeeding and going back, taking that step back and looking again from a broader perspective, I took a look not just at that one instance, like not that one person or that one time with that person or that one door, but actually looked at the whole.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was able to see, like, oh, I can't walk through this door. And it is clear as to why. And so I think sometimes it just takes that, like, taking that step back. Hopefully, it's most of the time we see it at the end of the relationship, hindsight's
Right.
2020.
Yeah.
But maybe if it's just like a constant thing, like just taking a step back for a minute and
Mm-hmm.
looking at the whole of the person, the whole of the relationship, the whole of like what goes on every day in this, rather than just that one good instance, um, or even that one bad instance, like taking a look at the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree. I think that we see the signs, like you said. Like
Yeah. We're
if
not,
you have to ask, is this a red flag? It's
you
probably a
probably
red
know it's
flag.
red.
Yeah. Like you've seen it, and it's just kind of one of those things that it's what you're going to do about it or not. And maybe it's a small red flag, maybe it's a big red flag. There's definitely different ranges, but whenever it is big enough and you're just choosing to not do anything about it, that's when I think it becomes like an inner issue where it's like you've got to let the Lord get in your heart and work on your heart, because he wants better for you. He has better for you, and the only thing standing in your way is you choosing not to believe that.
Yeah. Yeah.
um
And taking a look and seeing, like, are these red flags consistent? Has this been a consistent thing throughout this
yes.
past month or even this past week? Like, everybody can have a bad day, but if it's consistently, look at that and then ask yourself, like, do I really want to try to break this door down and go through it, knowing that if this is, because in our dating life, that's our best foot forward. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it just gets more disgusting from there. Like,
Yeah.
like when you get married, everything is magnified. And so, do you want that this past month to be your whole life from here on
Right.
out? Like that, I mean, you have to really be honest with yourself, and most likely, no, you do not.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you do not. Because that's not how it should be.
Exactly. So what are some of the signs that you personally saw? I know you mentioned your family and friends not liking him, and then obviously verbal and physical abuse were
Mhm.
present in both of our pasts, and those are definitely red flags. What other red flags have you seen or have you heard about that we can kind of help others identify?
Yeah. Let's see. So, other than friends and family, which, number one, if you have decent, I mean, I'm not saying you get along with them all the time, but if you have decent family and friends in your life, please listen to them,
Mm-hmm.
because they actually do know what they're talking about. They have that
Mm-hmm.
wider perspective, whereas ours, yours in that moment is going to be more narrow and focused.
Mm-hmm.
So listen to them. I wish I had. They would have saved me a lot of time. But my second engagement was broken off because he was talking to women behind my back and cheating on me. And I was so focused that I was like, we're going to work through this.
Right.
And stayed for about another month until it happened again. And then I was like, I let a friend speak into my life, and she was like, you need to run. And then I was like, out. Like,
Yeah.
that's all you had to say. I'm done. But I mean, those are big things that are obvious. But some of the smaller things that I found were like maturity levels. Are we on the same field at all? Or even, do we want the same things out of life? Like, you can say that all day long, but when it comes down to it, what kind of job is he wanting? What kind of life is he wanting? What does he expect out of a wife? What do you expect out of a husband? Do those things add up? Are you going the same path? Are you, both headed towards ministry? Are you both headed towards, as long as you're running down the same path? And a lot of times, especially when it's like you're dating, at least this was my experience, when you're dating at a younger age and in high school, and then you go into college, a lot of times those paths look like they're going the same way, and then they start to split. And so just kind of being aware of like, are we even on the same journey? Like, are we going to
and
end
continuing to evaluate that?
Yes, it's a constant
in your dating life.
What about you? What do you think?
The one that comes to mind, well, first of all, in total agreement with everything you said. And so the thing that comes to mind is control. The healthy relationships that I've been in have never been controlling. But the unhealthy ones are like, where are you? What are you doing at all times? They need to have tabs on you. Like in my most toxic relationship, it was like, you're not like, you talk to your mom too much. You're not allowed to call her today. Or like, bananagrams. And then, I know that there's some people who are younger than me that I'm very close with, and their boyfriends don't like that because there's a source of truth. There's a speaking into their lives that, they kind of recognize like, this may not be the best, but it's just that sense of control and isolation is a big red flag. If the other person is trying to push you away from friends and family, that's a big red flag. Trying to keep you for themselves, it's very unhealthy at that point. So I think control is probably the biggest one that comes to my mind, because it's so mental and emotional, and it can become so manipulative, and you don't even realize it, right? Because you're being manipulated. You don't realize when you're being manipulated. Oftentimes. So I think that's a really big one. Phrases like, you must not love me enough, or you must not love me like I thought you did. Like, sit down, okay? Like, stop.
Like when my second engagement, when I found out about all of the other women, and he had lied about, even I had moved to another state to be in this relationship, and he was like, oh yeah, she's still in Kentucky, da da da, to these, and I'm like, I'm here, man, I'm here in the same place. But anyways, I digress. But even his
hiding you, that's a huge red flag.
Yeah, and his family was like, well, if you really love him, you will walk through this with him. And they were like, you should just go ahead and get married. And I was like, and I really thought to myself, okay, how would Jesus love him?
Right.
And I was like, I'm gonna have to stick it out. Like, I'm gonna have to be here. I'm gonna have to like try to, give him grace like Jesus gives, and mercy and all this stuff. But when it was repeated, I was like, I'm out. I don't want to have to continually dole out. Now, I'm not saying like we always have to give grace to people and our spouse, especially because we see more up close.
Right.
But like, I don't want to have to dole out that much grace of like, oh, he's cheated on me again. Like, let's.
When you're not receiving the respect and honor in return.
Like,
yeah.
And respect is a huge thing too. That were always like red flags for me of, do I respect him enough to not cross physical boundaries? And does he respect me enough to do the same? And oftentimes, no.
Yeah.
And before I married Brian, who I am married to, my engagement got stuck. I told God, I was like, I don't want to marry someone who we've crossed physical boundaries. And we didn't. Like, we had mutual respect for one another. We like, he was going down the same path I was in life. He had a good relationship with Jesus like I did. We were able to pray together at the end of our dates. Like, I felt comfortable and I could be myself in all my stupidity when we were dating. And so I knew with that, like, okay, these are good signs, which I hadn't experienced before. So yeah. But I think too of just like, where are you all at spiritually? Are you on the same field? Is he, like that kind of thing? Like, I mean, that's obviously a big deal, but yeah, that has just been my experience.
Yeah, for sure. So what do we do? Okay, so let's say, all right, we've identified the red flags. We are on our way out of the relationship. What does like self-care look like? What does healing look like? How can we almost stay away, because just because you walk away once doesn't mean he ain't coming back, like,
oh my gosh, all that. I broke up with someone 3 times. Like, I was like, it was the one who was like physically, well, mainly verbally, just not good to me. And I was like, we have to break up. And he just started bawling and he was like, no. And I was like, well, I guess, like, what do I say to that? He said no.
Right.
So I tried again. I was like, we have to break up. And he's like, no. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with that. So it took me 3 times. Persistence, people, persistence.
Yeah.
Just say no. Like, sorry, but we have to break up. Like, literally with my second engagement, I had to change my phone number. Just doing like he was just constantly sending awful messages to me after we broke up. And so I was like, I'm changing my number. You call me again, I'm reporting it to the police. Done. Like, I'm over this. So definitely, I think for self-care, like, space, cut it off. And I don't mean like cut it off for a week and then like a photo on Instagram. I don't mean unfollow him and then follow him back 2 weeks later.
Somebody needs to hear that.
Literally, like, done. You are done. Because if you felt like it was wrong this time, not much is probably going to change in a few weeks or a few months. So cut it off. If that means you change your number, you change your number. If that means you start a whole new social media thing, you start a whole new social media thing. And then also taking time. Like, my downfall all the time, I didn't intentionally do it. It just sort of happened. But of jumping into another relationship. Yeah. Just take some time for Jesus to heal your heart and your mind. Yeah. Especially if you've gone through a relationship that's been really bad. But like, figure out who you are in Christ. Figure out what type of man you want to be married to, and then pray for those characteristics. Pray for that person. You'll be surprised at how he will fulfill every single thing that you're wanting. Like, Jesus will fulfill everything that you're wanting in a person, if you just lean more into him. And so I think that is the best way to take care of yourself during that time. But what do you think? What's your advice?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree. I think doing all of those things is crucial, and it's the thing that sucks is that it's not going to be easy, and that it's going to be lonely. It's going to be hard. You may receive those nasty messages, like you were saying, that that makes you second guess yourself, that makes you second guess your decision. And
Or
it's
you might receive really sweet ones that make you second guess.
also that. Yeah,
Don't listen.
absolutely. Yeah. No, hear, from the Lord once that you need to leave or just know it, because sometimes it's just there in your face. And stick to that. I just think I know it's so hard, but you won't regret it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really hard to see because you can only see what's kind of directly in front of you. But I just think, like what you were saying, like pray for those characteristics in a man, pray for your future husband, focus on God's best for you, and become God's best for someone else, and use that time wisely, no matter how much it kind of hurts, and no matter how crazy it is. I mean, I went full blown crazy whenever my abusive relationship ended. Like, crazy meaning I was in church literally every time the doors were open. I was reading the Bible like you wouldn't believe. I was having my friends pray over me, like lay hands on me. I'm like, I will do whatever it takes to heal, because I never want to go through this again. So I think on that note, fight for yourself, and fight for your future husband, because he deserves the best in you. And and then do it and become that person. I think, as hard as it is, I mean, life doesn't get easier, so buckle up, buttercup.
Yeah, for real. Agree.
Agree. I think that's it. I think that's how you see the signs, and
that's it. Yeah.
learn from them.
Just don't go back.
Yeah.